I never filmed an intro for this video, so I'm doing it now. That's what this is. And I'm gonna keep it really, really brief and to the point. I was trying to read my May TBR in one video for you. I failed. I'm not going to tell you how much I failed, but I did fail. I didn't read every single book. If you want to see the books that I picked from, go watch, I think it's a TBR for May. Those are the books that I got to pick from, and in this video, I read some of them. I think you basically just watch me slowly fall into the depths of despair, which doesn't sound fun, and I guess it wasn't, but maybe it will be funny to watch. You let me know. You let me know if this video was worth it. I will tell you something. I found a 5-star. I did find a 5-star in this video. So if you want to see what I rated 5 stars and what I absolutely did not like, stick around, watch the video, have a good time. I started reading this. This is the first book of my TBR that I'm reading, and I am having a jolly old time. I have read one Grady Hendrix. I've read one Grady Hendrix before, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't mind-blowing. And I think that's because the premise wasn't 100% for me. Scary vampires, not super duper my thing. There's a wasp right there, and I don't know what it's doing. But I heard about the premise for this, and I was like, yes, absolutely, sign me up, I want it, please give it to me now. It is home for unwed mothers, set in the 60s, and witchcraft ensues. I have heard little things about it here and there. I've heard like some conflicting reviews, but the thing I have heard that I was grateful that I had heard is that it is quite a lot of just literary historical fiction, and that the witchcraftiness of it all is quite minimal. And I can tell you, 70-ish pages in, absolutely no witchcraft, not even a whiff, absolutely nothing. But I am still having a great time. The main character, I can't remember her name, Fern, is just, oh, this is 1970. I thought it was 69. I'm probably in the wrong. The main character, Fern, she's just, you just instantly care about her because she's so lost. She really doesn't understand what's happening to her, what's going on. She's so unbelievably like uneducated about what's going on, not only in her life, but also what's happening to her physically. And you just immediately feel empathy towards her because of how sheltered she has been, and what a scary experience this must be for a 15-year-old girl who doesn't understand her body or the world. I really want to root for her. I really want her to find strength and power, and I want her to really grow as a person in a way that is, I don't know words anymore, but that I want her to bloom. I want her to be a strong and vibrant person and be less afraid of what's going on, and to make choices based on what she actually wants in life rather than having to make choices out of fear, which I know is a very realistic situation. A lot of people have to make choices based on what is the least damaging rather than being able to choose the one they want. But I would love it for her if she gets to the point where she can make a choice, an informed choice about her future and the future of her baby. That's what I want. We'll see if I get it. Okay, the lighting is like astronomically bad, so I've just put a cushion to make it better. I finished Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I loved it. I loved it. I picked this one because it was a book club, and after reading it, I went and watched the book club. And at the time I was like, okay, I think it's 4.5. I think it's a 4.5 read. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It made me cry. The horror was horroring. The uncomfortableness was there, and I absolutely loved every single second of how weird it felt. And then I went and watched the book club, and every single criticism that came up, I was like, yeah, I agree. I agree, but I loved it anyway. I agree, but I loved it anyway. I agree, but I loved it anyway. And the amount that I was just accepting what a good time I had with this book, it just made me think it has to be a 5-star. It just has to be. I can't explain why, because I honestly didn't get that like, oh my god, this is a 5-star feeling, but it just feels like cemented in my soul that this is a 5-star book. What can I tell you about it that I haven't told you about already? It did get witchy, but not way too witchy. I understand that people said they wanted it to be kind of more fun witchiness, and that didn't really happen, although our witchiness was pretty sinister. It didn't feel light-hearted or joyous in any way. Thing that is discussed most in this book is kind of body autonomy and the right that young women had over their bodies, or the lack of a right that the young women had over their bodies, and how that looked for them and for the children they had, and how they wanted to reclaim that autonomy and the lengths they were willing to go to reclaim it. I think that was the biggest theme throughout this book, and I really, really loved it. The book that I think was closest to this that I've read is Year of the Witching. It is quite different, but it has some of the same kind of themes, and it has that witchy element to it, and it has birthing elements to it and all that kind of stuff. Oh, it's my dog! And I really enjoyed Year of the Witching as well, so it's not actually that surprising that I enjoyed this if I think they are both similar. This is by far my favourite Grady Hendrix, having only read 2. And so the next book I picked up off my TBR, and I am almost halfway through, is Sincerely Secretary of Doom. Can you see? I'm that far through. I've been reading it in little teeny tiny chunks all day. Just like 20 pages at a time. It feels like it's been a long time since I read Welcome to the Fey Cafe, and I think they're on book like 4 or 5 at this point. But the thing that I felt for the first, I'm going to say 100 pages of this, was just how different it felt from Welcome to the Fey Cafe. So the character that we know from the previous book is the male main character, and the female main character is completely new, never met her before, and we get quite a lot of chapters from her perspective. And then when we're in the male main character's perspective, he has isolated himself from the characters we met in the first book. So it felt very, very disconnected from the first book. I didn't get that found family, like, joyous feeling that I was expecting and hoping for, and it didn't feel as kind of fun and silly as I was expecting. We're kind of starting to return to the cafe now, and we're kind of starting to see the other characters come into it, so I am starting to enjoy that a little bit more. I know the female main character more now, so I'm starting to like her a little bit more. It's progressing. At the moment it doesn't feel like a 4-star. It is getting better, so maybe it'll get there in the end. We're sitting on the floor. You're a little bit low. Do you like my new thing? I got a hit from the charity shop, and it was like new, but it's just huge, and I love it. And it's all colourful and soft and warm, and it was so cheap. I feel great about it. Look, I'm really dreading this. I'm really dreading this update. I don't have the energy in me for this to be like a really fun or entertaining update, because it's been a few days, like genuinely quite a while, probably nearing a week, maybe 5 days since I updated you, because I don't know what I was talking about. The thing is, I'm not having a good time, and I don't want to come on here and just complain, but I fear that's what I'm going to do. I say I'm not having a good time. That doesn't mean I think the books I'm reading are bad, or that you shouldn't read them, or that you shouldn't enjoy them, or that if you pick them up you wouldn't enjoy them. But just for me right now, Sincerely Secretary of Doom just absolutely hated reading this book. But I think it's a me problem. There was some stuff that I had problems with. So the fact that we didn't see as much of the found family as we did in the first book, that was something I had a problem with. The fact that we didn't get as much explanation about the Fae and how they work, that wasn't a reminder, was a problem. The male main character seemed to have a problem with the fact that the female main character wore a lot of makeup, and that felt like weird messaging that I didn't quite understand what the author's point of view was. It was overall entertaining and a good time. I just didn't want to pick it up. I didn't want to read it. I think, like, I got to the halfway point and I was like, I'm just gonna finish it. I just have to power through and finish it because I'm not having the world's best time. And that sounds like I should give it a really low rating. But what I'm saying is I don't think it was the book's fault. I think the book was fine. I think it was me not wanting to read this book at that time. So I think objectively, the book is like a 3.5, 3.75, but my enjoyment of the process was like a 2.5. So I'm averaging it out to like a 3-star experience. It was fine. I think at this point I'm not going to pick up more in the series. I think that first book had some magic in it that this one didn't have, and so I'm happy to leave the series here and leave it alone. But then I picked up As Good as Dead, and I have been reading it for what feels like forever, and I'm like 60% of the way through. This book feels very different from my memory of the first 2 books. I was warned that it was a lot darker. It says like contains adult themes on the back and has been described as traumatizing by some people. So I knew that this book was going to be a little bit different from the first 2. The thing is, for a lot of it, for that much of it, it felt like a moodier version of the first 2. It relies a lot on traditional narrative, which the first 2 didn't. They were a lot more multimedia. And the main character is suffering from PTSD and having a really hard time with that, and is in some dangerous situations, which mean that she's incredibly stressed out. So this whole first section felt really kind of grueling to read and took a long time to get through, and it wasn't fun in the way the first 2 books were. And then we had this little tiny section of like really intense action, which I did enjoy. I enjoyed this section here because it felt like stuff was really happening. And then this part kind of returned to the slow, grueling, everything is shit perspective. And I just think for me to have read like 350 pages and only really enjoyed like 50 pages of that is kind of sad. I don't know. I think of what I've read so far, I think that could have been shortened by like 75 to 100 pages. The fact that it has been so miserable for so long and doesn't feel like it's going to get any more fun is just a real kind of slow drag of a read. God, I'm complaining so much. I've complained for 7.5 minutes about these 2 books, and the thing is, I just don't feel strongly about them. I don't feel really happy to be reading them, and I don't feel so pissed off that I want to stop reading them. I'm just like, okay, I want to get to the point where this is over. So I am going to try and power through. I think I have about 200 pages left. I'm going to try and power through that as fast as I possibly can, which I think will take me about 3 hours, which does take it to quite late in the evening, but if I can finish this today, I'll feel very happy. I know I look the same, but it is the next evening. It's been a whole like 24 hours since I spoke to you. So I did in fact finish As Good as Dead. I kind of came away from it thinking of a few different things. The first thing is I was listening to the audiobook, and I think that contributed to making the book feel slow. The audiobook, I don't think was... The narrator, A-star, absolutely fabulous. But the rest of it, it just didn't read as quickly or as fun as the other books in the series did, and it felt a little bit repetitive and slow. When I picked up the book physically and read the last like 200 pages physically, I enjoyed it a lot more. And so I think this book maybe doesn't do well as an audiobook and does better as a physical read, or maybe it would be fine as an audiobook if you could listen to it really fast speed, but the app I was using, it has a limit of 2 times speed. So I just guess that I just think that some books pacing wise are more suited to audio, and some books pacing wise are more suited to reading physically, and I think this book is more suited to reading physically. So like I said, I did have a better time with the book for those last 200 pages right until the very end, which I absolutely hated. I have a lot of problems with the end of this book. It really made me frustrated, and I don't think it's intended to, but it just really pissed me off. And so for me, this was another like not win of a book. I'm gonna give it like 3.5, because I wish it had been shorter, I wish it had been snappier, I wish there had been more multimedia, and I wish the end had been different. Other than those things, good enjoyable book, but it's just enough stuff to push it like definitely below a 4. So that's where I'm at with that. And then today I picked up Dark Matter. I don't remember if I said this earlier, but I basically got it recommended to me from 2 different recommendation places. And so I felt really quite positive about picking this book up, because it was recommended alongside things that I really enjoy, like Project Hail Mary and The Silent Patient. Dark Matter was recommended alongside those things. So I was like, yes, I'm gonna love it. I'm 200 pages in, which is like just over halfway. It's a nearly 400 page book. It started really well. For those who don't know, we're following Jason. Jason is living his life. He goes out to have a drink with a friend. He is walking home and he gets kidnapped, and then he gets drugged, and when he wakes up he is being like manhandled by people in hazmat suits, and people are talking to him and saying he's been missing for months and he has no idea what's going on. In this place where he's woken up, none of his memories are presented as true. So he was married before, and now his wife doesn't know that they were married. He had a child before, he now doesn't have a child. He was working as a teaching position, he now is like not working in a teaching position. So there's all this stuff that is different from the life he knew, and he has to figure out what's going on. Did he like dream his old life? Are there like aspects of his old life that are true in this life as well, or like what's going on? The point I'm at now, we've basically had an answer to that question, and now it's about figuring out if he can get back to his old life. And there's been a character introduced that I'm intrigued by. I think my biggest problem so far is that I don't like Jason very much. I don't find him a particularly compelling character to read from. The writing style isn't very like emotive. He can feel quite like observational and quite clinical. Good things. It feels like a very fast read. I don't know if that's actually true, but like I read nearly 100 pages in an hour. That felt like very good and pacey and picked up speed and whatever. And there are some like shocking twisty moments that you don't see coming kind of throughout, which makes it kind of fun to read. I don't get the science 100%. I get it like 70-80%, and I think that's enough. I think I understand the science enough to be able to read the book, but I don't get it like 100%. That was something that I really liked about some of the other science fiction that I've read. I think did a really good job at explaining the science, which I don't feel like has been quite as well achieved in this. But again, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you need to understand the science to enjoy the book. And I am enjoying the book, just not like that much. It feels like less of a drag to read than the past 2 books, but it doesn't feel like it's verging on that 5-star, absolutely love it kind of feeling. That's where I'm at. Been talking for 10 minutes. It's too long for a clip. It's too long for a clip. It's July. It's not July. It's June. I finished Dark Matter. but I didn't read any more from my TBR. I'm sorry if that upsets you, but I just needed to mood read because I felt like I was getting dragged down and down and down deeper into the pits of getting pissed off with my reads, that I just couldn't pick up another one off my TBR. But I need to tell you about Dark Matter before I finish this video, so that's what I'm doing now. I don't know where I was when I spoke to you. Was I 200 pages in? Yeah, I read that last 200 pages in one sitting. This book, super fun, super freaking weird. It just got like progressively weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And by the end I was like, I'm not even sure I know what's going on anymore. That's not really true, that's being dramatic. I could understand what was happening. But it did get like weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I read it, but I think it wasn't quite for me, is the best way of describing it. I genuinely didn't like the main character, and the fact that I didn't understand the science upset me. It upset me. I was mad that I didn't understand what was going on, or that maybe I couldn't explain to someone else why what was happening was happening. I think that's the best way of describing why I was pissed off about this. But I really didn't hate it. This is actually the second best book that I read off my TBR. I gave it 3.75. I think I would read from Blake Crouch again. I think he has, is it Upgrade? Oh, and the Wayward Pine. Oh, he has friggin' loads. He has loads of other books. I would pick up another one, but I think the one that I know about is Upgrade. I'll show you the books that I read this month from my TBR. Ow. I read these 4 books in this video. We had a 3.75, a 3.5, a 3, and a 5 star. Yeah, this one, worth reading some books that I didn't enjoy just to read that one. I'm so glad that it was on my TBR. I don't really think I need to say anything else, because what else is there to say, really, if you think about it? Nothing. So I guess thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with, I guess, this kind of slightly messy video. I'll see you sometime soon.